Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. We are excited today to talk about slowing down a little, which I think is beneficial to all, no matter who you are, where you live, or what age. And we're excited to have Jake Horne here joining us, who's the president and mentor at the Student Compass. And he's been helping students worldwide for years with pre-gap mentoring, planning that year between, college and helping with college planning and so much more. So welcome back to the show. How are you today?
Fine, Jill. How are you?
I'm doing well. A little bit of chilly weather here in the Northeast. You're in Connecticut. We're in New York, but everything's doing well. Thank you so much, and everyone is, I should say. Let's talk a little bit about you and your company, thestudentcompass.com. Tell us a little overview as to who you are, what you do, and then it'll, slow down a little bit, and we'll talk about the benefits of slowing down because some of us can't.
Yeah. Well, I've been in the gap year business, if that's what you can call it, since 1994. Originally, in the gap year was taking a year off between typically high school and college to slow down, shift gears, step out of what you've been doing as a student, frankly, for 14 years, to make sense of yourself and your place in the world. And this is part of the nature of adolescence, is self-discovery and understanding and the need to find purpose in life and meaning in life. And it's not easy to do. But basically, starting in 1994, I worked with students who wanted to simply go out and have adventures in the big wide world and learn in the process about themselves and their relationship to the world. Since essentially 2001, 2002, I've been working more with students who are impacted by technology and how they need to take time to step out into the world and get off of their screens and experience the world in an intimate kind of way. And by doing that, learn much more about who they are, becoming much more self-aware and what their skills are, capabilities are, and also to develop broader perspectives about how to think about the problems and the issues that they confront every single day and will confront for the rest of their lives. So what I actually wanted to talk about today is really using the gap year to shift gears and to step out of this very, very busy, fast-paced, overwhelming, technologically overwhelming world, and to reconnect with the natural world and the world of other people, and have intimate conversations that adolescents love. Adolescents love to be with their friends, and they love to meet new people and to hear what they have to say. It's just part of their DNA. And so the problem is that ever since they've been born, so Gen Zers were born in 1997, approximately, and they have that has just sort of ended. But 2024 sort of ends the Gen Z period. And now we're into the Alpha Gen, which we also need to pay attention to as well. But here's the thing. These two generations, and I'll talk specifically about the Gen Z generation, their whole lives have been mediated by being online, looking at a screen, interacting academically through curriculum and teaching, but it's been through a screen.
Yeah.
However, we as human beings are hardwired to be face to face with the people we're interacting with, because that's the way you develop memory. That's the way you develop a deeper understanding of who you're looking at, what you're doing, how it relates to you by being present in the space. The problem and the concern right now is that this generation and future generations are going to see their world through the screen. And the screen, it can be mediated in many different ways. I mean, I have behind me a bookcase which isn't actually there. I can manipulate what you see. I have bookcases elsewhere, but nonetheless, the upshot is that the technology permits the mediation and can change the way individuals perceive their world and what's true and not true. There is a great deal of concern right now that students are struggling more and more with understanding what is real. Because if you process the world through your screen, and more of these kids are spending much more time on screen, that's the only thing that's really real to them.
It's so true.
And the other related issue to this is these kids in school, playtime was taken away from them.
Yeah.
Because playtime is considered frivolous. And so, and the more time you were in class, hunkering down, studying, memorizing, wrote, whatever it is, the stuff you needed to test out, the better it was. But the fact of the matter is that we as human beings need to use all of our senses to develop into full human beings who have the capability to discriminate between what's true, what's not true, and how to develop empathy and understanding for other people in this world. So playtime is lost, and you think about, and all of us, I mean, certainly growing up, we used to use playtime to go out and put teams together, or, just play and talk and, wrestle and do all these kinds of things, which is perfectly natural for humans as well as animals, as a way of developing a sense of connectedness with other systems, other organisms, and ourselves as well. We learn about ourselves by interacting with others, and we also learn about other people the same way.
Yeah. So
this is increasingly disappearing as more and more people are on their screens. And parents, we're all captive here. We all have our phones. We're all always looking at screens. I mean, you can go anywhere, and 70% of the population walking around is looking at a screen. And so role modeling is an issue. Kids don't see anything but this is normal. So it is the way this world is now. So as human beings, we need to be much better about regulating, moderating, and understanding the impact of this technology on how our brains are rewired and how our kids' brains are wired. Yeah. So that being said, the beauty of the gap year is it's really a year in which a young adult, an 18, 19-year-old, can leave the community and leave the technology behind and spend time with peers in a much more natural settings, which have been natural for human beings for hundreds of thousands of years.
Exactly, and we've kind of lost sight of that. Yes, go ahead.
And this has all happened. The screen thing is only 20 years old. Yeah. I mean, frankly, in the scheme of things, it's just brand new, and we stepped into it without really thinking about what its impact would be in terms of rewiring the brain. And particularly for kids, this is what's considered normal. But you lose the sense of connectedness with other people, and with that, you lose the sense of yourself as well. You lose confidence because your only feedback is through sort of social media or through these arbitrary screens. And therefore, you're constantly struggling with, figuring out who you are. And for adolescents, it's painful, and frankly, it's not healthy from a mental health point of view. If you go out into the big wide world, step away from the technology, step out of your community, you become a far more independent person who can make and practice learning decisions. Now, I'm going to give you an example of how this works. So, and it's interesting. There was a young lady I was working with not too terribly long ago, came out of a really very competitive independent secondary school.
Okay.
She had gotten accepted into a very good college and decided she really wanted to take some time, for lots of reasons. But by and large, she wanted to take a breather and kind of make sense of what this whole business was all about, because she was feeling enormous pressure from her parents, enormous pressure from the communities, her schools, and just society in general. So being brave, she decided she wanted to do this. She and I talked about it for a while. And the first thing she really did, and I think it was kind of very brave, but anyway, I may have mentioned this before. She went to Paris and she worked in a fashion house.
Wow.
And she likes clothes, but she wasn't driven for this to be a career. But the beauty of it is that she was working in collaboration or in sync with people who have a sense of shape, design, color, patterns, and how that reflects mood, how it reflects a sense of place in society. I mean,
Yep.
all of this came out in her experience. So not only did she learn about materials
Mm-hmm.
and the incredible range of materials and shapes and colors that can be shaped in, but also about what the creative process is all about. And never had she really had time
Wow.
to work on her creativity because schools aren't supporting creativity. They're supporting retention of fact, preparation for SATs,
Mm-hmm.
standardized testing. And the whole
Ah,
society is gauging you as a human being based on how you test out
so
and what your
true.
resume looks like and what your
Yep.
transcript looks like. So she did this in Paris and she was in heaven. It was amazing. And she lived not completely independently. She had roommates, but she had the Paris experience. Her
I'm
parents
thinking
loved it.
Emily in Paris. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, right. Well, yeah, kind of, yeah, but a little younger. But I mean, the upshot is that she met lots of Parisians. She met lots of other individuals from all around the world, and had this much deeper experience about uh, the creative
Yeah.
process is, what the intimacy of working with other individuals can be, and how natural that is for the human mind and spirit. So she did that, and she was like, "Okay, I want to do this forever." And I said, "Well, no." I told her, "We agree. You're going to do a couple things." This was only one of them. So she was in Paris for 3 months, and then she went out to the West Coast and was in a boat building school.
A what
Now,
school?
talk about something, a boat building school.
Oh, oh my gosh. Okay. Wow.
Okay. Now, that's a very different medium than working with materials and fashion.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: boat building is a function. I mean, you get a product, and what she built was hers. She could take it home. But the thing about boat building is you have to think the design through. You've got to come up with a design.
Wow.
You've got to make sure the design is workable.
That's
you
impressive.
you have to come up with the whole process of how you're going to put these pieces together so that not only is it lovely and beautiful, but it also is functional,
Hmm.
and that all the joints fit, and all of the process has been done really correctly, and you make mistakes along the way. So it required her to slow it down and be patient. Paris wasn't quite that way, but boat building, there's the standard rule for people who work in boat building or construction of any sort. If you're good at what you do, is you measure twice and cut once.
Okay.
Because if you cut the first time and you get it wrong, you have to throw that wood away or that material away.
Yeah.
But it requires slowing down and checking and rechecking and being patient, not only in how you measure and how it all fits together, but also how it relates to the plan itself. And so ultimately, through this process that she went through, which took almost 3 months, 2.5 months, she ended up understanding what it's like to slow down, to
Okay.
think about what she is trying to do, set goals for herself on a day-to-day basis. So it really kicked in her what's called executive functioning skills, which is all operates up in the front part of the brain, which is how to organize your life.
Yeah.
What steps you go through.
Wow.
Before this, she always had somebody telling her what to do. Her
Hmm.
parents instructed her life up until the time she went away to school, and went to a boarding school. When she was in boarding school, scheduled out. She had, I mean, every aspect of her life was scheduled. But here's the thing: she's going off to college, and she's going to be much more responsible. Has to be much more responsible for
Yeah.
herself, not only what she does, but also what she gets out of it. So developing these executive functioning skills is foundational to people having balance, confidence, the capacity to advocate, to think through a problem or problems, and to not jump at the first solution. And the problem with technology is you get hop on an AI and you just
Uh,
give it a prompt and that's the solution. you know?
Yeah.
There's no questioning necessarily about, well, is this really the right answer? Or is there something wrong about the way this is, the way what the AI has come up with? And these kids don't have the ability to discriminate what is real, what's true, what's not true. I mean, AIs are getting better, but they still have the capacity to hallucinate. So you can get some pretty strange, responses.
Answers. Yeah.
Nonetheless, you have to develop a habit of thinking, a way of thinking about how you approach problems, how deeply and broadly you go at thinking about those problems. And so this gets to the part of the crux of taking a gap year is to get out of the silo, the limited sort of silo that you as an individual have been raised in, and have much more broader experiences that are very different, that help inform you or young Gen Z person, to bring to bear in your thinking all the other possible ways of solving a problem.
Yeah.
Now that's part divergent thinking, that's part lateral thinking, and not just critical thinking. And the ultimate goal here, I suppose, in one way, is that anybody who wants to have a really interesting career has to step beyond this whole business of linear thinking. That in fact, one has to come to bear, bring problem solving to bear in new and creative ways, which means you have to have some experience with the world. You have to have experience with other ways of thinking about the world and problem solving. And you go out into these other communities around the world, people from different cultures have different strategies for thinking about the world. I mean, you go to Paris, it's very different. It's very different. We know it. I mean, for the French are French. I mean, they think differently in many ways. Certainly, people in Central America and Costa Rica think differently. I mean, in Greece, I mean, it's just different cultural experiences. But the point here is that technology and the specialization that has evolved in the United States, particularly in the Western societies, has been the thing to be. It's you specialize in something, you become a real hot potato in that thing, and somebody's going to hire you. The problem is you may get your first job, but that's going to be it probably, because you're going to have no other skills to bring to bear, because that technology is going to change and it's going to push you out unless you have something to offer. And business leaders are hiring people who think differently. You just think about all these people, all these entrepreneurs out there. They think differently. They're not like most of us who are just sort of linear thinkers.
Yeah,
and
right.
So as technology grabs more and more of the skills that we have as humans use for thousands of years, which are tactile, linear skills that you just sort of build and build and assemble and assemble and assemble. All that is going to be supplanted by robotics and technology, or most of it is, not all of it. So there's going to be less and less room. Yeah, it's going to be less and less for those who don't have these other lateral thinking skills and creative skills to look forward to in terms of work that makes them feel fulfilled and gives them purpose. So there's a lot that goes that's sort of running behind this whole business of the gap year. It's an ideal time because it is when kids have come out of high school, they're young adults, their minds are really fertile, they're really ready, they're adventurous if they're given the opportunity to be in those places that permit them to practice doing things that are new and different and novel. And that engages the mind to be more creative. That engages the mind to be much more motivated and to think more about the future and be more resilient and have deeper capacity. So, a lot of people have said to me, well, the gap year is just a year of partying. It's not.
Oh, no. You're like, no.
I want these kids to be much more able to step into this world after they graduate from college and have thriving lives and thriving careers. It's hard, and I say it's harder and harder now, and there's lots of reasons for that. college, high schools, virtually every high school does very little with this because they're trying to get their kids into college or they're trying to burnish their reputations. And the colleges
Yeah.
haven't gotten there yet because
Yeah.
they're stuck in their silos because they're institutions that run by departments and department heads who aren't particularly enthused about sharing across the discipline spectrum and how these particular disciplines really interconnect. But that's the human experience is it's all connected.
So
You
now
step up,
you're working with these students for this whole year. Explain a little bit about how
yes,
this process works that they commit to and then they're checking in with you because
right.
some people may say the gap year, well, it sounds like, yeah, they might go out party more. They might get more distracted. That's not, you're
Yep.
not going to let that happen. Can you tell us a little bit
No,
about how that works?
sure. I mean, yeah. So typically, I like to have them do three different things of 3 months of 3 month length. So it's like a whole
Okay.
year, 3 semesters, fall, winter, spring, and I like them to do this because I want them to have three different experiences so they can triangulate and assimilate all the different ways that they can experience the world in kind of unique ways. They're
Mm-hmm.
usually the first thing they do is a fairly, programmatic experience. They may go off to Greece and live on an island, studying the ecology of the island, but they're with a group of other individuals. They're learning Greek at the same time. They're developing, an understanding of the history of Greece, of the island, of the archaeology, anthropology, culture, and at the same time, there's a certain containment. I mean, they have plenty of freedom, but they can't go
Mm-hmm.
off and drinking, forget it. Smoking, no, can't do it. You can't. I mean, no drugs, and no, inappropriate relationships for that matter.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they're treated like young adults, but they go into it knowing that this is their responsibility. So they have that first 3 months experience. When they can get online to check in with me, I like them to do that. And my job, at the very least, is to be present for them it's going to sound ridiculous, but as a concierge service. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
available not 24 hours a day, but I mean, I'm
For the most
available
part. Yeah.
as needed. There's no hourly rate here. But the upshot is that they then have conversations with me and I help them in a kind of the Socratic way to pose questions. How was it? What happened? What did you think? All these kinds of things. So they go through an additional reflective process. Usually the programs that they're involved with already incorporate that
Got it.
in, and what happened today? What do you think?
Okay.
Well, do you have any questions? What are the issues that
And
have come up? Because the idea is for them to practice to think about their own experiences. And very often they're chronicling things. They're writing and keeping in journals. And that reflective process
yeah.
really pays off. When they come home, typically
Yeah.
after Thanksgiving, before the holidays, um, I see them. We talk, as regularly as needed to kind of decompress and to make sense. They get to talk to their friends about what they've done, who are all jealous because they all want to be there doing that kind of stuff. The interesting thing that happens, and I won't belabor this too much, but these kids are so used to being routinized with their peer group that the idea of taking a year off scares them because they're going to be behind their friends. Well, the fact of the matter is, this experience accelerates them. They may be 1 year behind academically, not academically, but chronologically in terms of the academic year, but they're actually much further ahead because they're bringing to their academic experience this other knowledge, this confidence, this understanding of why they're in school,
Yeah.
and constantly challenging the importance of being in school and getting the most out of it. So colleges like these kids a lot. There are a lot of mainstream schools, colleges, hot potato. I mean, all the Ivies do it. All the big state universities say take the gap year. It's great because they know these kids are going to come back as
Yep.
leaders.
Exactly.
So
And how does that work though if they do apply to college? Just curious. I mean, do they hold the spot for you or you apply just for the year that you're skipped, like the year that you're going to return?
You apply as a regular applicant.
Okay.
And you get accepted. I mean, you apply to 5, 6, 7 schools, whatever. You decide which one you want to go and you accept. They then send you a letter saying, swell, you're going to join us next year. You have that letter in hand and they say, I think I'm going to take a gap year. And they say, great, just tell us a little bit about what your plans are. And we'll expect you to matriculate and get back in touch with us the following May so that you can be ready to matriculate the following fall.
Okay.
So there's no problem. This is easy peasy, and colleges and universities are very, very used to it, and they welcome it. And so, as far as doing it, there's no from a school's or college's point of view, there's no stigma attached to it. There's no opposition at all. They really welcome it. And I will tell you also that, and I may have said this before, that there are actually schools that may have put you as an individual on their wait list, and then you tell them you're going to take a gap year, and they'll say, we'll take you off the wait list and we'll accept you for the following year.
Got it. All right. Well, thank you so much, Jake. Unfortunately, we are out of time.
Yep.
Let's wrap it up and let's talk about how we can reach out to you and, of course, get started.
Yep. So the name of my company is The Student Compass. You can get in touch with me at Jake, JAKEHORNE 8216 @gmail.com, or get online, search for The Student Compass, and it'll come up. It's www.thestudentcompass.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Always a pleasure speaking with you, and looking forward to next time. Thanks so much, guys. Reach out to Jake, and where are we now? We're in the season with when do people start deciding?
Now.
Okay, perfect. Now is the time. Contact.
Timing is great.
All right. Thank you so much, Jake. Bye bye.
Take it easy, Joe.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.